Happy Thursday. It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. I was already thinking it was Thursday. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to NBA Happy Hour. I'm your host Sean Mackey. Oh, not even drunk yet on Happy Hour. Here we go. Drinking a
Don't
Coke
have to be.
Drinking a Coke Zero and eating some Reese Pieces. And
Loaded up in the phenylalanine and that aspartame, and you're
and
just rolling deep in the emotions. You're just...
I want to welcome back the former 48 Minutes host, Alex Derickson. He is here
Howdy.
to talk hoops for the first time in 2-3 years, something
like that. At least I don't know, like straight hoops, it's probably been 6, but
Yeah,
like movie hoops, it's been only maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah. It's been a minute, but welcome back, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, this is great. Tim, our fearless leader, he is on vacation this week, so I'm happy for him to get away from hoops for a couple of days, and we're here to hold down the fort and talk about some fun stuff. So NBA season, we're in the doldrums of the off season right now, so nothing much to talk about there. However, we've got Olympic basketball. We just finished summer league, which I thought was pretty fun this season. And then we're going to talk some WNBA later, which has become Alex's new thing. And when he gets into anything, he goes so hard.
It's terrible.
On anything.
It's
You're the worst about that, man. Like when you get into something, you just don't quit, and I love it.
It's infectious.
You do it until you hit a wall, and then you disappear.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely my MO, spelled out right there. Never been so seen and exposed.
But right now, he's a huge WNBA fan, and you have adopted the Indiana Fever, which we're going to talk about a little bit later as your new favorite team, which I think is really exciting. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the WNBA. This is a great year, but it's been absolutely nuts so far. So let's move on, though, first to Team USA. So Team USA has had a few preliminary pre-Olympic games. They haven't looked great, Alex. They haven't looked great.
And that's what I've kind of inferred from what I've seen.
Yeah. So they had a game against South Sudan a couple days back that gave pretty much everybody some pause. Mm-hmm. And South Sudan, give him some credit. Well, Coach Luol Deng's there.
I was gonna say, shout out to Luol Deng.
Shout out to our guy Luol Deng, man. One of my favorite Chicago Bulls of all time. Yes. And what he's done for that country and the basketball program there, which was pretty non-existent up until 20 years ago, with the exception of Manute Bol. So it's been kind of wild. So they ended up just winning by 1 the other night over South Sudan. Now, Alex, do you think this is just a total cause for panic because they got this dream team together this year? This is a really, really, really good constructed roster for Team USA this year. There's no excuses to lose with this group, and not to say that the rest of the world hasn't caught up in terms of basketball, but this team is completely loaded, and you got LeBron James being LeBron James. He wants another gold medal. Should we be concerned at all about Team USA's play in these first couple games?
It doesn't inspire confidence when it's they're trailing against South Sudan. They're trailing against, what was it, Germany most recently?
Yeah.
These close games, but it's also very early. It's prelims. It's not the real thing, so who knows? It's hard to kind of tell. You've got to build up that chemistry, and you have that time. Now between now and then when the Olympics start, you can identify those holes. You can identify, hey, we need to step up here. We need to improve this. You can kind of work that, tweak that, get those rotations set. But yes, back-to-back struggles is one of those things where it's I don't know, but they've been here. They're professionals. They're going for another gold. I know this isn't the same team that they've consistently rolled out, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it is also a situation where, these are the best that the NBA or in America has to offer in the sport where they are not expected to lose. So they aren't losing, so it's not as bad as it could be, I guess. But I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
It starts.
Yeah. So people are kind of a little bit shy about the whole USA team this year actually winning the whole thing, but I think everyone's freaking out. This team's going to win the whole freaking thing. They're going to run into some problems though. This isn't going to be 92. Like,
no,
let's just go ahead and say that. Like,
it's not going to be a walk in the park.
No, it will not be a walk in the park at all. Speaking of other teams, so France, they've lost the last couple of games. They lost to Australia the other night, and they ended up losing to who was the other team that they lost to? They lost 2 teams. This is a team that's really built to win. So France's national team is pretty loaded this season. They lost to Canada. I'm so sorry. They lost to Canada on the 19th, 85-73. So, but like looking at this team and who they have on here, they have Rudy Gobert. Mm-hmm. They have Nicholas Batum, who has been in the league for a long time. They got Frankie Smokes. You know, they've got Evan Fournier, and then they have Victor Wembanyama. So, who, you know, he's going to dominate. A lot of defense. They shouldn't be losing these kind of games to these other teams. So you look at Australia, you know, like they have, you know, Josh Giddey. We were just talking previously right before we got on here. They have Matthew Dellavedova, I think, is on that team. He's been out of the league for a long time. So do you think a team like France could give the USA some fits this year?
Possibly. I think maybe like under the basket for sure with Wembanyama and Gobert. And I know like the international rules around like being able to touch the ball around the rim and things like that are different. And I think that's where France should and would have the advantage. But in the long term, I don't know. It seems like one of those rosters where like you slap it together and you're like, this is going to be great. And something about it doesn't click. That could be what's going on. But I don't know. It's hard to tell when it's like this early and it's not quite like locked in real thing. But no, on paper they should not be losing these games. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So they've lost a couple of games. Olympics start this weekend, so I believe the USA's first game is on Sunday against Serbia. They're going right against the beast immediately. It's gonna be tough immediately. I think I think this is a team, you know, they don't have, you know, Kawhi Leonard was removed from the team. That was like one of the weirdest things. Like no one, like someone's going to write a book about that one day. Like guy. whether Team USA was like, no, we're just not putting up with this.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Or, you know, Kawhi, like he was kind of hurt, but he wasn't hurt and he wanted to play through it. Like the whole thing was just sketch. Like, I don't think he really wanted to be there this summer.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a fascinating individual.
One of the most.
Like I mean, just he's chronically injured or one of the best players in the league. And
it's literally one or the other.
It's so insane to me where everyone's just kind of like, we got Kawhi Leonard. You're just kind of like, are you sure you should be that excited? But it's like, which one? But it's a bummer. It's weird. I hope there's some overarching like massive story that's gonna come out from behind it that's like super weird. I don't know, but
it's gonna happen. Like we're eventually gonna get some sort of Kawhi Leonard story later on, and we'll be able to, you know, hear about this. But I'm anytime anything comes out about him, it's so cloak and dagger, and like you just never know what's really going on. Like, is he really hurt? Is he? Because I'm fully convinced he just sat out an NBA season just to sit out an NBA season one year.
just for funsies,
just for fun. He's like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna do it. And you're gonna pay me. It's gonna be great. So looking at this roster, we'll talk a little bit about it. So they've got Bam, Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, Joel Embiid, who has not looked great at all, Tyrese Halliburton, Tatum, Rue Holiday, LeBron James, and of course Derek White.
Of course, right.
Like, still, we're like 6 weeks behind here, and I'm like, why did they not put Jaylen Brown on this team? The guy gets no respect.
Like it's the one thing that stands out to me is it seems like there's not like a pure point guard on the roster. Like
No.
and I feel like that would probably be helpful. I don't know. I feel like just the depth and being able to have a better facilitating offense than a lot of.
Rue Holiday he's a defensive guard. I would say he's the most. I think he's the most point guard out of all these guys, and I'm including that over Steph Curry.
Sure.
But or Derek White, who I think is I think he's naturally a 2, which is pretty much everybody coming in the league now.
Right?
Just like undersized 2s, they're just all over the place, man.
You're a guard or a forward.
Guard or a forward, yeah. It's something. So, how do you predict Team USA to medal? I mean, we assume they're going to medal. Do you think they're going to win the gold, or do you think there's a chance that they might blow it?
I assume they're going to win the gold. I would be surprised. It's at that point. Like, I don't know.
Blind patriotism.
I was gonna say, like, I don't know if it's just like the flags are flapping in my ears when I'm looking at this roster or what, but I'm just like, I don't see why they can't.
Yeah, there's no reason that they can't. So, it was announced last week that LeBron James is going to be a flag bearer in the Olympics, which is a huge deal. Another just neat part of his career here.
Absolutely.
I've heard some people, raising some flags about him raising some flags, and and I'm just so sick of everybody getting upset anytime LeBron's name just gets mentioned with anything.
We're over that. We're past that.
It's like it's so funny because you either are like, okay, he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time,
right?
Or you're like, not as good as Jordan.
Yeah, like there's some fool sitting in a Dairy Queen booth somewhere, just like overrated. It's like what, how, still, where? Like, point to me where.
I mean, this guy is he's like the most decorated basketball player of all time.
Like, for real. Yes.
And he's the NBA he beat Kareem's points record. We never thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, ever. He is like the 5-star general, like most celebrated, like you said, most decorated athlete, I think, in NBA history.
Yeah, there's no reason anyone should be getting upset about him, carrying the flag. Like, he should be there. He should be there. This is his last fucking Olympics.
He has got to be like the oldest Olympian we are sending out this time around too. Like,
he has to be. He has to be.
For real. Like, we're not like throwing out, like, oh, this like 27-year veteran gymnast. We're like, but like he's got to be. So, like, why not at this rate?
Yeah,
like, I don't
absolutely.
feel like he's, like you said, it's his last go around. He's not going to be doing this again in 2028. If he is, I don't know why. And like, why wouldn't he get this opportunity, this chance to be?
It's awesome. It's awesome. And he is, Team USA's the Team USA basketball team for men has been very up and down over the last 20 years.
Sure.
It has. It's been up and down. It's not been cut and dry. We're just not going out there and just winning every single year. There's been a couple of bad years where they haven't performed well, and then
correct.
They've had these like super teams come out and say, nope, we got to go out and win the gold again. We gotta do it. And this is one of those years. So I'm predicting they're gonna win gold, man. There's no reason they shouldn't with this squad. And I think Bam's going to be a huge contributor on this team. I think he's going to be huge. I think, Joel Embiid's got to pick it up though, man. He's been not great the first couple of games that he's been playing in. Anthony Davis, I mean, he's going to be huge for this team. It's just, I don't know. I think they have a decent roster. They have a better roster than any of these other teams, even the ones that are kind of stacked right now. So
for sure. And I think there's just something about a handful of those players where it is one of those situations where if they're like, where if you're leading by 8, if you're playing Team USA and you're up by 8 in the fourth, you're kind of still really down by 15, like that lead's not safe. And there's just a certain amount of like willpower. And we saw it with both games with South Sudan and Germany, and whether or not they're going to have to lean on LeBron's shoulders in close games forever. It seems like he's willing to do it. So yeah, I don't see, like you said, I don't see how they don't get a gold, because I feel like even in close games, like there's not anyone on that roster that you wouldn't want the like ball in the hand of, unless it's maybe Derek White. I don't know, but that's not a knock against Derek White. I'm just saying, no. But yeah, I don't see a reason why this isn't a gold medal team.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So first game this Sunday, 11:15 a.m. Eastern time. They're playing Serbia. That's followed by they will be playing on let's see here. It looks like Wednesday or Thursday against South Sudan at 3 p.m. So it'll be a daytime game. Yeah, so they'll just go straight back into that. South Sudan's the one who gave them the biggest scare. They only won by 1. They beat Germany just by 4 a couple nights ago. So they were able to handle Serbia in their first game against them. They beat them 105-79. So, they got to get back in the groove. I feel like the last couple games they've just kind of just played down to the competition. So go Team USA. Moving on, let's go back to the NBA, what we're really here for. And at NBA happy hour, this isn't Team USA happy hour. If it would be really boring most weeks.
For like coming to you for 3 weeks out of every 4 years. Your favorite basketball podcast.
I would say that it would just be fun if it was just like speculation 52 weeks a year. We just talked about what we thought the roster was going to be in the future Olympics. That would be the whole podcast every week.
At the end of every NBA season, we would have to like reorganize what we think our roster is, heading into the next year. Like, okay, like, cool. So this year, like, so we have the Olympics set for like next year. Could be like we'll just do this for 3.5 years.
Yeah,
great. Yeah, why not?
So, moving back to the NBA. So the NBA Summer League concluded the other night. There was a really, really good final game against the Miami Heat and the Memphis Grizzlies. It went into overtime, which they eventually had to do a play to 120. Like whoever hit 120 first ended up winning the game.
Okay.
So it was, I mean, they were just hitting 3 after 3 after 3. And it was like I watched the highlights for it, man, and it was a pretty wild final game. Josh Christopher of the Miami Heat, their summer league roster, he racked up 24 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals to win the MVP. Totally just killed them left and right. Especially, I think he had 6 threes as well. Summer League's always interesting to me. I'm not as interested in it as I was maybe like, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Right.
I don't know what it is, because before I think we were having to watch games like on live streams back then. It wasn't like these games are all broadcasted now on actual television stations.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's better, it's a lot more accessible than it was back when they first started doing this. But I feel like you really, really, really have to love NBA basketball, and you just have to have a nonstop thirst for hoops to get really invested in Summer League.
I think you either have to be like super, super into it, or like be a huge fan of a team that has a prospect you're really excited about, because then it's your first chance to really get your eyes on somebody. And and I think that's when it's like super useful. But I feel like if someone's like really getting down to Summer League, you either do a weekly podcast about the NBA, or like you're super, super, super just like thirsted for basketball.
I agree. So looking at some of the players that played this year in summer league, some of the ones that, you know, were like must-sees. Reed Shepherd for the Houston Rockets, man. He was fucking awesome. Like, he lived up
No
to
other way
every
to
bit
say
of
it.
the hype.
Yeah.
Yeah, just fucking awesome. He averaged 20 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists in the games that he played.
Dang.
He ended up getting a shout out from Mark Price on Twitter as well. Which, I
Wow.
mean, like, to me, like, that's the ultimate compliment.
Yeah.
So, and I honestly, like, I think that's a perfect comparison for Reed Shepherd, to be completely honest with you. Like, a guy who shoots the lights out, who, I mean, Mark Price shot the lights out.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was like, yeah, one of the
Mark Price
best
was your
3-point
guy.
shooters. He was my guy, one of the
Yeah.
best free throw shooters in NBA history as well. People don't talk about that enough. I think there was like one season where he missed like just a few free throws. I mean, he just always nailed free throws as well. Just classic point guard. But like now, I think about a guy like Mark Price. If he was in 2024, he would be Reed Shepherd, like someone who's going to launch the ball all the time. So,
yeah.
Really cool dude from London, Kentucky, just right down the road from where we live. And and son of you know, Jeff Shepherd, who was on a lot of those UK teams that we loved as, you know, kids in Kentucky.
I was gonna ask if you Jeff Shepherd's son is a joke, and I was like, no, like, let's not do that. Like, let's not run that bit, you know. And no, I
Yeah.
would. Damn. Okay.
Yeah. So, man, you're like, I'm absolutely shocked and floored you didn't know that.
No, like I am behind on NBA stuff. Like I have,
No.
yeah. No, I
So
had no idea.
Reed Shepherd, fantastic pickup for the Houston Rockets. He's going to be huge for them. I am super excited to watch him. They're going to be one of my league pass teams this year. Stephon Castle for the San Antonio Spurs. He kicked ass too. He ended up getting a wrist injury after his first appearance. But I think he had like 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists in that one game. So like, yeah, just he's going to be awesome. He's going to be great to pair up with Victor Wembanyama. They're going to be so fun to watch
For sure.
this next season as well. Like, just I feel like if you live in Texas right now, NBA basketball has just gotten so much better. It's gotten so much better. You're just coming off that Dallas NBA Finals appearance that everyone's already forgotten about, you know, including me. You know, so a lot of good things happening there. Rob Dillingham, Kentucky player, he ended up getting drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves. He was decent in his couple games he played. He had 13 points, 4 rebounds. The guy that I really liked, I think he was only playing 9 minutes a game, but Zach Edey is going to be quite the pickup for the Memphis Grizzlies.
It was one of those, like I said, I'm pretty behind on things, but like I had a feeling I saw Edey got picked up by the Grizzlies. I'm like, okay, that's actually not bad. Like that
Perfect,
seems like
right?
That seems like a really, really good fit. And then for some reason, like the other day, I got on Twitter and I was just fed a bunch of Zach Edey highlights. I'm like, oh, okay, so like this guy's like super legit. If I'm just randomly getting like highlights of this dude, I'm like, okay, like cool. Yeah, I think that'll be a really good fit. That's exciting one.
Yeah, and they got him as a steal where they got him in the draft. He's super tall. He's going to clog up the paint, block some shots, get some rebounds. He's going to be able to post up, which is something I never say about anyone anymore.
Right?
I'm like, he posts up and it's like, what are you talking about? Is this 2004? Are we talking about Chris Kaman?
Oh, no, we're
like, like,
yes, we
never
are
talk about that. Yes, we will. We will talk the shit about Chris Kaman and how he should have been a Chicago Bull for 2 years.
Man, I am stuck in the past.
I know. Whoa, God, I feel old. But 7'4", coming out of Purdue. He turned his ankle in one of the games, but I think he was playing like 9 minutes during the games that he was playing. I think he's going to be a great fit for that team. He fits a huge need for them, and he's just such a classic Grizzlies big man.
For real. I was like, oh wow, they finally replaced Steven Adams. Like, great.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
They plugged that little hole for him. Nice job.
Yes. So So he did not. So the Memphis Grizzlies ended up making it to the final. However, he was not playing at that during that game. So I want to move on to our old favorite team. So it looks like the Chicago Bulls got a real steal during Summer League.
It really does.
This Buzelis kid, man.
Reasons to be excited.
Reasons to be excited. This is a year where the Chicago Bulls have their draft pick still, and obviously Zach LaVine's still on the team. Vooch is still there. They need to get rid of both of them. They won't be able to. They're going to have to attach things for them to be taken off the team. But don't trade away the pick, Chicago. Let this just put Buzelis out on there. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to say it.
Okay.
Give up Kobe White. He's at the highest point he's going to be in terms of trade value. Trade him. Dump it off. Let's go all in for this number 1 draft pick this year. Cooper Flagg, man. That's who we need in Chicago.
Right.
So we want him. But this Buzelis kid, let him just go out there and play. He's going to make some mistakes. He's going to get some dunks. He's got to get better at shooting. He was absolutely horrendous during the Summer League in his shots.
I saw him make one and then like praise the heavens. Like just be like, oh, thank God. I was like, oh, great.
Yeah, and he's already like dunking on guys. And there were some of these dunks were just nasty, and he's got the stare down. He has the kind of swagger and the kind of confidence that no one on the Chicago Bulls has right now.
Right.
Like
that's true.
And they need that guy, even if it's false hope. They need that guy to go out there and do what he does, because it is it's going to be a rough season, but I think that they really, really lucked out with that guy. And I think he's going to be, a real stud eventually. So, but like I said, Miami ends up winning the whole thing, which is such a Miami thing to do. They always try hard when it doesn't matter or it matters the most. So just when you least expect it, that is when they strike. That is just classic Miami basketball. So Summer League's over. NBA season's coming up soon. We got an NBA video game coming out in a couple weeks that I don't know anything about.
Right.
Like, so moving on. So going back to the NBA. So Evan Mobley, one of Tim's favorite players, they ended up re-signing him a couple days ago to a multi-year extension, 5-year max. Could be reported to be worth $269 million. That's a lot of freaking money.
I forgot Tim's all big Cavs guy now.
He's a big Cavs guy, man. He never got rid of that wine and gold, man. Like it's just filling up his whole closets. He kept it in there in a box for a little while, and he got it right back out after Evan Mobley came to this team.
I filled up my closet with wine and gold, and I got called an alcoholic hoarder.
Mobley's coming off a career year this year. He ended up averaging, for 36 minutes this year, 18 points a game, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, and I think 1 steal. Yeah, that's a great stat line for a guy. Cleveland is an interesting team right now. They are right there in the thick of everything. I think that they're one guy away from really making some noise, but locking up a guy like Evan Mobley, who is such a solid basketball player, who just comes out there and plays hard every night, is huge. You want to lock this guy. You have to sign this guy to $269 million now, which is insane.
It really is.
Like, that's what they told us a couple years ago with Zach LaVine. You have to sign him to the max. You have to, no matter what. Now he's being deemed as untradeable.
Right.
Okay.
It's like you have to sign him to the max, parentheses, and pray to God it really hopes out. Like really works out. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's such a risk. You're literally gambling. I mean, you're mortgaging your team on one guy, more or less. And you don't know. So you hope it does. And for Cleveland's sake, I hope it does. Because like you said, like they are a market team that really needs to like lock in those dudes for that much money when they get one. So hopefully it works out for them. But like it's such a, like you said, it's such an opportunity again, where using Zach LaVine as the example, where are you going to get stuck with some sort of like toxic contract?
Yeah. And I don't think they're going to with him.
No.
I know. So Donovan Mitchell, he has he a couple weeks back he agreed to a 3-year, $150 million extension. So he's locked down for a while. I mean,
Mhm.
he's their best scorer. So they have their scorer. They've got Evan Mobley. Like I said, they need to tinker, I think, a little bit with some other pieces on the roster. Like Garland, does he fit on the team? It sounds like he still kind of wants to be there, kind of doesn't. Like so they've got some questions that need to be answered, but I like this for the most part.
Yeah.
I think you lock down a guy like him. Like looking just at some of the players that haven't been locked down from that draft class. So
Mhm.
2021 draft class, uh, Shingun has not agreed to an extension yet, which is
Okay.
shocking to me. Like
Yeah.
that is absolutely shocking because he is an absolute stud.
Yeah, I know
And
you're really high on him.
I am so high on him. He's so good. And I mean, him with Reed Shepherd this next season. Oh my
Mhm.
God, it's going to be so fun. It's going to
Thanks for
be
turning
so
me on
fun.
to the Rockets as a league pass team because I only had
Yeah,
the Wolves and Spurs on my list.
I'm you got to join in. Josh Giddey, new Chicago Bulls guard, also has not signed an extension. They're dumb. They'll do it immediately
Oh
before they
yeah.
even see him step out on the floor.
It's good. No, they're gonna accidentally win like 6 of their first 8 games, and it's gonna be one of those things where it's like, oh no, they're gonna play for the play-in again.
You called it. You called it. It's exactly what's gonna happen, and we're all gonna kind of be like, well, maybe.
We're gonna be like, well, maybe, and like ignore the fact that like they won the 6 of the first 8 games by like a combined total of 5 points, and it's just like, oh, like I don't know how, but like yeah, I'm always so leery when it comes to them anymore.
Oh yeah, it's a terrible team to root for or support or anything. Like, don't give that team any more money.
No,
I'm not gonna go out and I'm not gonna go to the United Center this season and be like, I'm gonna invest watching this team. Now, if they do what they need to do, which is tank, and they
sure,
do get a good draft
yes,
pick. This is
yeah,
this is going to be a huge draft. Like I said, Cooper Flag, the
hmm,
biggest guy on the board this year. You get somebody like him, which is, obviously a long shot. We're just, praying in Bulls land, but
sure,
but you get someone like him, like you're back,
yeah.
and this is what
You
happened with Derrick
instantly have a
Rose. You got
piece.
you
Exactly.
got Derrick Rose, the team was set, and you had some other pieces that were built around it. So they
Mhm.
don't have any other fucking pieces though. So like
Right.
that I would want to keep on this team. Like I
Right.
don't like any of them. Like
I don't
everyone's like, well, yeah, I love him because he plays hard, but he's not a great player, and I
sure.
feel like he plays to the level the team is playing. If the team is playing well, he's awesome.
Mhm.
If the team is not playing well, and Patrick Williams getting a big fat extension.
I forgot about that.
Oh, I'm out, man. Like, I
Yeah.
mean,
No,
like
I'm
there's nothing that excites me about Patrick Williams anymore.
mhm.
Like I just like he's I hope he comes out and he does well this season, but like I haven't completely written him off, but I'm like, whatever, man. Just
Yeah.
whatever. So all right. Well, to move on to our main topic this evening,
Yeah.
and the reason you're here,
Outside
you
of the
have
fact that
become
yeah. Yeah.
you've become a huge WNBA fan this season. And you've adopted the Indiana Fever as your team of choice, which is the most local of our teams, an
Yeah,
hour and a
regionally
half from
speaking,
your
and
residence.
yeah, and I mean for other obvious reasons too, because I'm not gonna sit here and fucking act like I'm not like, oh no, it's not Caitlin Clark. I've been wanting to do this for years. No, I'm a fucking liar. Like,
That
like,
there's people that were there before Caitlin Clark that are huge fans, and they can
yeah,
say that.
absolutely, and like
I
more
just I
power
just
to them.
don't know any of them.
And I'm so sorry they're going to get priced out of that like entire
Yes,
process.
yes.
Soon. Like that's a big bummer because like I actually went back because I have the League Pass subscription has like years worth of games you can go back on, and I was like, I'm gonna. I watched the third to last Fever home game or the third to last game. So it's one of the last home games that the Fever had last year when they were one of the worst teams in the league, and it's just like such a difference. There's just nobody there. It's like a completely different presentation. But yeah, regionally makes sense. Obviously, getting the electric player that Caitlin Clark is obviously was like, oh yeah, cool. Like, why wouldn't I go check this out? But when you mentioned Chris Kaman, my eyes lit up And it's one of the reasons why I got hooked on this, right? One was a Shea Serrano tweet that said, "If you like basketball and you don't watch the WNBA, then do you like basketball?" And I was like, "That's a really good point."
Sure.
As someone who does appreciate the game of basketball. And then the other was the fact that for the last like 7 or 8 years, I have not been attached to really an NBA team. It's got really
Sure.
hard. It's got really hard to watch games. Like as I got older and had kids, I wasn't really liking the teams that were on like the national schedules. I wasn't watching them, getting attached to any of them. Wasn't really feeling any of them. It was a big bummer. I also didn't like the game transitioning. Nothing against to the style of play that the NBA is. It's not my branded drink.
Sure.
So fundamentally, when you have a league of women who cannot dunk and the game stays below the rim, you inherently get a game of very strict perimeter defense and post up play and like hard under the basket like style of play that I really miss getting to watch from
Yeah.
04, 07, 08, like those like really hard nosed teams. Then kind of what did it was I was like, okay, I'm gonna check out the Fever. I watched it was like later like quarter way into the season because they had that really just like brutal schedule at the start of the year where they had to play pretty much all of the best teams within like 15 days. It was an absolutely ridiculous like tough schedule. They called it well, I think one of the second hardest starts to a schedule in almost like WNBA history. Uh and You're having like Caitlin Clark coming in straight off the college season, straight off of the tournament. They haven't gotten to practice and they're awful, but they get it together. I pop on a game and I realize that this team is the exact Chicago Bulls team that we used to watch right around the time they got Derrick Rose, where
Okay.
they have this incredibly electric player alongside I think a coach who didn't quite plan for it with Christy Sides. She has a little bit of Vinny Del
The
Negro.
Vinny Del Negro. Yeah.
There's a little bit of times where I watch it and I'm like, ugh. But there's a lot of different like components. So like you can see the fact that this is a team that was being built to go one way and is suddenly having to go another because they have a player
Sure.
that creates so much gravity, so much, defense, everything kind of facilitates and runs around this new player that they've since inherited with Caitlin Clark. And you can watch it and you see that this is very clearly a 500 team, like, which is way better than winning the draft lottery, which that's a market improvement. But like, I started noticing these different players, the style of play, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is so fundamentally the same thing where they have these players that they put them out on the court and you're like, oh no, like there's a Gennaro Pargo kind of situation. We're like, oh God, here they come. And like but
Oh God.
it's so fun to watch because you see a team on the rise. You see a team that has so much limitless potential if they can get the pieces of the machine improved and working because like they already have an unbelievable pairing with Clark and Aaliyah Boston. They have a 1-2 guard forward pairing that is just already one of the best in the league. And it's only been, half the season and the half of one season of them playing together. They have you saw the tweet that I put out with comparing Kelsey Mitchell to John Salmons. And it's very much the same thing where you watch like you get someone like Caitlin Clark drives, kicks out to Kelsey Mitchell, who then tries to 1v5 everyone around her and does a bunch of crazy dribbling stuff, goes under the rim, spins back around the arc, kicks it back out to somebody, it goes back to her. She throws up a circus shot with 5 seconds left on the shot clock, and it magically goes in. And then she does that 7 more times and then misses the next 8 shots the next game. And it's that thing where like you almost like I instantly just became a fan because like I could just watch it and be like, oh my God, like you can see what's working, you can see what's not working, you can see where things could be improved. One quick more reference that I think you'll appreciate is that they have a guard who does not score a lot. She primarily comes off the bench. It's Lexi Hall. She doesn't score a whole lot, has a ridiculous defensive motor, like totally just wreck shop when she's out there in terms of being able to like stop plays. It doesn't show up in the stat sheets, but you can tell like she takes the best
Sure.
scorer, she locks them down, she makes it difficult, she's all over the place. And since the Commissioner's Cup, they do have quite a little bit of a better winning record when she scores more than 6 points. And
when she scores more than 6, they have a better winning record.
they lost one recently when she scores 6, but I looked at it because I noticed I was like, oh, they're running a lot of like backdoor cuts, or she camps in the corner for threes. I was like, she is Keith Bogans. But it's crazy to watch and be able to draw comparisons one to like a team that I used to like obsess and watch over. But then it's
A very
serious.
forgotten team, mind you.
It's I know, but like there's just so many good pieces and so many good players, and like everyone seems really likable, but like there's a lot of things there that just aren't working, and you kind of hope that they fix it. But uh started like watching like other teams and stuff like that, and just really found I described it to a buddy of mine because he asked like, how did that happen, like how did you stumble into this, and we're both really big wrestling fans. And I was like, it'd be like if he found a wrestling like federation or organization that wasn't a bunch of super kicks and like kickouts and like finisher spams and whatnot. You know, if it was all like
Yeah,
in-ring storytelling. I was like, if you just stumbled into something that's like, here's this thing you love, but specifically the way you love to watch it happen. Like how do you turn that down? Like how do you turn that away? You know?
yeah,
And that's really what it came, and it just seemed like the absolute perfect time to strike. There's expansion teams coming in the next 2 years. There is the refocusing of the collective bargaining agreement in 2 years, where like God knows what's going to happen with the new broadcast deal that just got announced.
yeah,
Uh, and yeah, it's and also I'm going to take this minute to just like there's a break in the action. There is no games for like a month because of the Olympics. So this is the perfect time to like get into it and like check it out and like watch it. League pass for WNBA is $35. Or
I
just
was
like
gonna that was gonna be
yeah,
one of my questions tonight. So it's $35 for league pass. You
35
get all
bucks.
you get all the teams, correct?
That's all the teams. And the only games right now, this'll change next year, I'm sure. The only games you don't get are nationally broadcast and Amazon Prime. So
Okay.
CBS, ABC, ESPN, and Prime games. Anything else you get.
Well,
Anything else other than that, you get the day after.
so a person like you
Mhm.
watching the Indiana Fever,
Yeah.
I imagine they do have a lot of nationally televised games this year because of their rookie.
Yeah.
Um, so are they how many games are you watching nationally televised? How many are you watching on WNBA Pass?
There are far more League Pass games, I will say,
Okay.
than let me see, because I actually made a broadcast calendar a la a certain someone.
Oh, oh God. Here
It
we
was just
are.
easier. It was just
Yeah,
easier.
yeah.
But in terms of the League Pass games, let's see. This is just since July, but there's one, two. It's a handful of ESPN games, but most of them are like I'd pick up through League Pass.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay. So
it's a
you're
fair amount.
watching most of your games. And okay. So you invested in that this year. You
Yeah,
$35. Nice
yeah,
little
it's
investment
no
there.
brainer. Like in my
A
eyes, to be able
no-brainer.
to watch like really an incredible amount of basketball, like over the course of
Yeah.
a very condensed amount of time that I'll really be
Well,
using it. You know.
yeah, I mean, you got a few months on it and you get to watch it, during these months. I know NBA League Pass is coming back, of course, this year. They
Mhm.
are once again, absolutely shocked about this, but they are combining it with NBA 2K again.
I saw.
So if you pay, I think, 120 or 150 or whatever
There's
for the
yeah.
deluxe version, you get it for free, which it's a heck of a deal.
I know, I was
'Cause
really looking into that. I was like, 150 is a little steep, but then I was like, how much is League Pass? It's like 150. And I'm like, well, I was already gonna get the
Yeah,
game. So
yeah, so
yeah,
it's gonna be, I think that's really cool, and then, with the new game, you're gonna have, the WNBA players on there too,
right.
so, which is also very cool, so it's an exciting time. So, what would you tell a person, um, that is curious about the WNBA, why they should absolutely be invested right now, post Olympics?
Uh geez. For one, it's basketball in the summer. Where if you really like
Okay.
basketball and you still want basketball to watch, here is basketball to watch. Secondly is there are so many matchups. It's 12 teams. It's 12 teams, 12 players. It's 144. It's a hard cap. They can't, like, it is a tough league to get into. So, you're getting the absolute best. Uh,
Sure.
and that from that regard too, it's growing. So why not just get on and ride the wave? But if like anything else, there's so many great young players. There's kind of this just transition period where you're kind of seeing a handful of like old guard players, slowly retiring, coming out in like this new wave, this rookie class that's been super exciting and like setting the league on fire with Clark and Reese and Brink before she tore her ACL. So many like rookies to be excited about. There's a whole bunch of in college they're going to be coming up, and they're going to be, part of this too. I think it's a great time to strike and like get into it. If it's something that you're like, hey, I might go check that out, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is still incredibly high level basketball. It's incredibly fun to watch. The Fever run, if you catch Fever games, they run a pace sometimes that is actually more in line of out of control than it is actually fast, which can be very frustrating, but it's very fun. And it's
Is that like Rick Moranis going to ludicrous speed?
It is it is sometimes you just
fast paced to out of control.
It is. You'll watch it, you're like, wow, holy shit. And then sometimes they just like throw like almost like 3/4 court pass into the crowd, and you're like, that wasn't where that was supposed to go. But like it was just a certain bit of like recklessness, that I think comes with a young team. But depending on where you live, there are reasons to be excited. If you're in Dallas, I know your team is not doing well, but Arike Ngumbuale showed up at the All-Star break or at the All-Star game and got MVP, scoring like 30 plus points just in the second half. And they have Satu Sabali coming back. So that's another 16, 18 points a game that they're going to be getting. So Dallas is going to be a team that's going to be improving. Minnesota, who has surprised a lot of people, despite being like one of the league's dynasties. Their best player with Nafisa Collier, who's been out, she's been playing in the Olympics, so she's going to come back healthy. Connecticut just solved their biggest problem with 3-point shooting, so they traded for Marina Mabry. So there's a lot of teams that are like making the moves and making these adjustments. There are, I think it is 4.5 games difference between the last team in the playoffs and the last place team in the league. So it's still pretty quick. There's a lot, games are close, games matter, everything really like adds up quick. I think it's higher stakes in a way that way because it is so condensed. And then the other reason to watch is Asia Wilson is absolutely doing ludicrous things with a basketball in her hands. She got, I think she was MVP back-to-back years, and then should have gotten it last year, and she got a 4th place vote for MVP, and the MVP ended up going to Breanna Stewart. And now Asia Wilson leads the league in points per game, rebounds per game, blocks per game, and is like 4th in steals. Yeah, she is with like when people do like power rankings, it's like MVP is Asia Wilson, and then there's just everybody else. Like she's just making it clear cut. I am the best. I was the best last year. I'm the best this year. She is absolutely just dominating, and it's also an incredible joy to watch because it's just that's Becky Hammond's team too.
So I wanted to read you off a stat here that actually came out I think this morning, talking about WNBA viewership season to date, all networks. So Caitlin Clark games this year have garnered 1.184 million viewers.
That's insane.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Okay, so all other games that aren't Caitlin Clark, 428K.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Now, here's the most fun stat. All games this time last year, total 301K.
That is insane. So like it's growing regardless.
It's growing. Yeah. I mean, Caitlin Clark showing up this season on the Fever has turned the whole league around.
Yeah.
This is a league that's been around since 97 now.
I think they're in their 25th year, 27th year.
I mean, and it's also awesome. These players, they have their own shoes out in stores, and you see men and women wearing them. They've got their own shoe deals and everything. It's just wild how much it's changed. You're probably not going to get like a lot of typical, NFL viewers watching this kind of stuff in America, but the tide's turning.
Yeah,
you can
for
feel
sure.
it. You can feel it. And like you said, you know, how many teams? Say 12?
12 teams.
12 teams. So you can get to know the players pretty quickly on 12 teams.
For
It's
sure.
not like the NFL where they have 1 million players on each team. So
yeah.
this
Or
is
it's not even 15 players on 30 teams,
you're absolutely right. This is the hardest league to get into. Like you have to be just absolutely great to be in this league that's so
still
small.
might not even play.
And you still might not even play. Exactly. So it's highly competitive. I think it's great for just women's basketball period, but I just think just hoops in general, I think it's really cool that like we finally turn the page on. I don't know what the stigma always was with women's basketball. It's just they never, it was always airing on weird days, and it always just seemed like it was always kind of like it was like the NBA's like little side project for years and years and years, when there was always a good product on the floor year in and year out. And obviously Team USA's ladies team, they're going to be kicking ass.
8th straight gold medal is what they're going for.
Yeah. I have to ask, just for fun, how did you feel about Miss Clark being left off of the team?
Absolutely leave her off that team. The girl needs to rest. And here's the other thing. She will have plenty of chances. She is going to be there in 4 years, in 8 years, probably maybe in 12 years, maybe in 16 years. The career longevity in the WNBA is incredible. But yeah, I have no doubt that like it's not like, I don't know what the uproar was. That actually, I do know what the uproar is. And this is what's happened too, is I've gotten more into basketball and more than I have, and so much has changed since like 2010. The internet is very different, and I've gotten introduced to basketball Twitter, which I have realized is, whoo boy, some of the stuff that I've seen. But I wanted to, there was when I took my family to the Fever game when they played the Liberty on the 3rd of July, and there was a guy sitting next to me. What's up?
What was the arena like, by the way, during that game?
So good. I mean, it was 17,000. It was sold out. It was bumping the whole time. Like that, it is an awesome environment. Like I'm very excited to go back. Like that was the other thing, is like kind of sold me. I was like, oh, this team's really fun to watch. And then I went to a game and it was like, oh, I'm here not for the bad guys this time. And this is great. Like what was I thinking? Like as an NBA fanless team, or as I guess like a person without a team right now, I'm like, I should just Pacers, I guess. But like, I don't know if I could do that. I think I have to pick a non-Central Division team.
Yeah.
But
it hurt too much.
Yeah. But there was the guy sitting next to me. It's a close game. It's getting tight. It's in the 4th. Caitlin Clark has the triple-double. Everyone claps, whatever. But like it's the actual game time. And they're struggling because like they don't have a ton of depth. They're going up against literally the best team in the league. And the guy sitting next to me just goes, Caitlin Clark's just going to have to start hitting threes. It's that simple. And I just wanted to look at him and be like, is it that simple? Is that all she has to do?
All she's going to be doing, hucking the ball.
Right. Like, no, that's what she's just going to have to do. And it's like, I'm pretty sure they thought of that. And like, there's probably a reason why they're not going with their plan. And it's just like, I don't know. There's just sometimes I see so much stuff online, and that's probably my own fault, that I'm just like, this is just thoughtless behavior. You're just speaking without even like thinking about this. But yeah, about 15 games left in the season. Stubbs comes back, I think August 16th. If you're not watching, you should pony up the $35 or the $13 a month, I guess, and maybe just ride it out the last 2 months. But get with the program. Check out the Aces. Check out the Fever. Actually, watch any of the teams. They're all really good. Even the ones that have bad records, they're just can't help that. No, it's great. I'm having a great time. I really hope that the Fever are able to get the roster together that they need, get the pieces that they need, because there's a lot out there. And there's just holes on the roster. It's just incomplete. But Yeah, it's been great. I really look forward to it. I'm going to be really bummed when the season's already over. But I'm happy to be liking basketball again for sure.
I think it's huge. I love that you've found a new thing to be interested in. Like I said, I love watching you go down the rabbit hole of a new interest. It's one of my favorite things about you. It's dangerous. Like when I like a couple years ago when the pandemic was going on and I was sending you all these Blu-rays that I had purchased and that I had purchased a 4K Blu-ray player and everything. I was secretly creating a monster inside of you. I could feel it. I was like, he's going to do it. He's going to jump in.
It was such a Dante's Peak. Like, no, it's not dead. It's just dormant. It's sleeping.
It's just dormant. I feel like I may have woke that up a little bit. So
a little bit, enough to ride that tide for like 2.5 years, and now I'm just kind of like, I don't really have space right now.
No, yeah, that's I actually had to buy a new bookshelf. So so I have a new bookshelf for all of my movies.
It's exciting.
You know.
Where'd you get your bookshelf? Because I'm also in the market for some sort of
storage. I'm going to be honest.
Unit.
It's a baby bookshelf from Walmart.
Okay.
It's a baby one, but it's fine. I'm able to put probably like I was able to alleviate quite a bit of my my physical media on there, my books,
Absolutely.
my VHS tapes that I have.
Okay.
I don't have that many VHS, but yeah, I have a place for them now. So I just need to. I don't have them in alphabetical order though. They're just on there.
Oh,
I'm like a complete psychopath. It's chaos.
But it's also the overrun. So the overrun can be chaotic. It's episodes of Nitro that just ends with everybody in the ring hitting each other.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's a bunch of movies I haven't watched yet that are still in the packaging that I'm getting around to. They're there. So, but anyways, Alex, I want to thank you for coming on here today and talking WNBA basketball. I want to have you back on here at some point, maybe the WNBA finals or something, so we can kind of talk more about it and everything. And I'm also looking forward to going to a WNBA game with you.
Dude, yeah, we're going to see the Aces.
In a month or so. I'm very excited for it because I've never been to a game and you've really talked it up. So, that if we were going to give any advice right now, this is the time to get into WNBA basketball. Absolutely. Especially NBA season's kind of blah anyway. I mean, I feel like NBA finals, like Dallas, Boston, it wasn't great. Hot. Wasn't great, man. It might be time to kind of swap over so you can watch a team that reminds Alex of a very, very 500 Chicago Bulls team where he made a comparison tonight to Gennaro Pargo. So I always love it.
I'm here for the deep cuts.
You are. Alex, thanks for joining us. We will be back next week with Tim, and have a great week, everybody. Bye.
Take care, y'all.